Yeah, so look, we've been around for a long time. I've been associated with this project since 2012 when I was introduced to it. For me, it was a no-brainer. I went to Austria very sceptical, hearing about what the EU does to new mines. So when I heard about this lithium deposit, I was very sceptical. But as soon as we entered the site, it was unbelievable. We're sitting below a ski field. It's cohabitated with the ski field for some 25 years. In fact, we've got such a good relationship now with the owners up there that during their summer months, most of our mine workers take up all the accommodation. So they do quite love us up there. But yeah, how can a mine coexist under a ski field is been the biggest problem that European Lithium has faced, because when you're talking to investors, they say, well, it'll never happen. Well, I can say today that it will happen. The government built this mine themselves back in the 1980s. Lithium in those days was just used for health reasons and high-end ceramics, and this was a high-end ceramic deposit. The lithium price crashed in '88, and what happened is a mine was closed by the government, and it shifted back 15 years later to the landowner. We did a deal with the landowner in 2012, and nothing really happened. We just took some samples. We did a bit of work to see if there was other minerals there that we can extract. And then 2014-15, the lithium price took off. And then we started to do a pre-feasibility study. That was finished in late 2017. And it threw out some fantastic results. Now, if you look at the results there on the fact sheet with the PFS, we used a hydroxide price of only $16,000. Well, not we, DRA, who did the report. And the number is about 330 million on your NPV US on the NPV. So we were very, very encouraged to go further and complete a DFS after the positivity. Two things have changed since the PFS. Number one, the hydroxide price has touched 49,000, probably averaging about 40 to 42,000 on sales at the moment. So that's number one. So we used 16 for the PFS, but also we conducted a further drilling program. When the Austrian government drilled this, they didn't do it in an economic thinking that they would need to get project finance. So they just drilled, and then they bore in and added the attics following the seam underground. So a very efficient way of getting a mine started if you don't have to worry about money in financial markets. But down the track in 2012, when we took over, there was no JORC compliant resource. So we started to drill. We've done over 35,000 metres of drilling now, and we've increased the resource by 57%. So when you look at the PFS, we use 6.3 million tonnes. That's now increased to 9.7 million tonnes. And the hydroxide price is going up. So if you just do straight extrapolations, we expect the DFS number to be closer to $1 billion when it comes out at the end of March. So that's, 2018, we commissioned the bankable feasibility study. And unfortunately, it got halted like everything else did in the world with COVID. So our pushback, we're probably 18 months behind schedule from our original, but it will finish in the first half this year. We expect the first part of the report, which is all the high-end numbers, the MPV8 number, the CapEx numbers, all that to be completed by the end of this month. And that's on track. We're in constant communication with DRA, and all the work that they needed has been done to produce those figures. So we should be able to come out at the end of this month with a brand new BFS, DFS, whichever one you like to call it, with the updated figures. And as I said, they'll be very, very robust, those figures. The reason that we're so confident in relation to most other deposits. You would have heard of one in Spain and one in Portugal having a bit of unrest because of local communities weren't happy with having a new mine nearby. We're in a part of Austria that's highly industrialised and is used to mining. Right near us right today, there's 45 kilometres away is a tungsten mine operating. Right in our district, there's a massive forestry pulp and paper mill up and running, employing a lot of people. And 45 kilometres away is the biggest industrial area called Graz in Austria. And they're a big manufacturing hub. In fact, Samsung has one of its biggest battery factories only 45 kilometres away from the mine. Not only that, we've got such local support. When we decide on the location where we build the hydroxide plant, we've got 2 local mayors fighting for it to be on their side of the boundary. So that's how excited it is for the local population. The state government, they're really pushing us hard, and the federal government have given us grants to finish earlier. During the COVID period, when so many restrictions were on, the federal government allowed our technical team to go in and out at certain times. So we had favoured status. So we believe that, and we've got the support of the local community. So we don't believe that we'll have any difficulty on the social side. On the governance side, everything ticks off. We've got our access agreement now finalised, which wasn't for a few years with the local landowner. That's now done. We've got our mining licence approved. One good thing about Austria in their mining licence, if you continue to mine, your mine can operate in perpetuity. So that's fantastic. So as long as you're continuing the mining process, if you close for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, you have to reapply. But if you continue. So when we took over the project in 2012, we decided to mine it ourselves just to see what type of ore that we can extract for the battery industry. So in 2016, once all the approvals and everything was done and the lithium price moved in the right direction for us to do it, we mined 1,500 tonnes. Now, doesn't sound like a lot, but you can imagine every single other junior explorer, when they have to do their metallurgical test work on the lithium, they get it out of core, or they get it out of soil samples, or they get it out of the hard rock themselves, right? We managed to mine 1,500 tonnes. So we actually built, in collaboration with Dorfner Anzaplan, one of the leaders metallurgists in Germany, and we built a pilot plant. We put that ore through that pilot plant over 7 months. So we end up with a product that we know back to front. So when we're engineering the chemical plant to produce the hydroxide, we know exactly what we're doing. Now, Dorfner Anzaplan put their stamp on that, and we put out an announcement recently. We're at 99.96% hydroxide. And we can produce out of the mine, which DRA will confirm at the end of this month, about 800,000 tonnes of ore, which will produce roughly 65 to 70,000 tonnes of high-grade 6% concentrate, which will turn into between 10 and 11,000 tonnes of hydroxide. Now, if you just run the numbers, even if you just use 30,000 tonnes, $30,000 per tonne, the numbers are enormous for this project. So we don't believe that we'll have any difficulty in the next phase after the bankable feasibility study in getting a off-taker, whether it's an end user or a trader. We haven't made up our minds yet, and getting the project finance. So far, there's been 5 banks very, very keen. All European banks keen on raising the funds or lending the funds for this sort of finance. In the PFS, the number was about 450 million US to build, to finalise the mine. The mine side of it is the least cost because the mine is already built. So really the mine is a little bit of dewatering. Over 30 years closure of this mine, you wouldn't believe. You'd think it'd be full of water, especially under a ski field where the snow melts. But no, there's very little water in there. We've gone all the way through the tunnels at least 100 times. So it's just electrification, putting in a track. Not one, to get our environmental license approved, we decided to put the crushing and screening plant underground. So no ore will actually leave, raw ore. That will all be backfilled into the stopes, etc. So that's part of it. So we will have a huge environmental tick for that. So the crushed and screened rocks obviously will go down the hill about 7 kilometres, where we will, on the valley floor, near the existing highly industrialised area. So we're not looking at farmland or anything like that. So this project has got so many ticks. It's so far advanced that we will be able to, and every problem that's been thrown at us, we've been able to alleviate very, very quickly. Because in the area that we're talking, it's a low socioeconomic area of Austria, and they really want our industry. But also they want to attract other industries. As I said, Samsung's already 45 kilometres away in Graz, the biggest industrial city in Austria. So the local authorities want not only us to have the concentration plant and the hydroxide plant, they're hoping to attract a battery maker into the area as well. So that's their aim. That's what they actually want to be able to do. And we will do our bit. And if we do our bit, the other people will probably follow. I mean, it doesn't make much sense having a battery factory a long way from your hydroxide plant. But again, that's for something else, someone else to worry about, not us. We just want to make sure that we're all the way along the plan that we've set out. So just recapping on Wolfsburg, we've got the mining license. We've already mined it, so there's no problem in that area. There's no local resistance whatsoever. In fact, it's the other way around. We finished a PFS. We've built a pilot plant. That pilot plant showed us that we've got a very high-grade hydroxide product that can come out of it. The DFS now is only 4 weeks away, and that will prove the robustness of the project. And then we get into the financing stage. So as I said before, 5 European banks are very interested. We've got 3 at the moment very interested in the offtake. We've signed 1 agreement already with Traxys. They're one of the leading traders of lithium hydroxide in the world. And we're in the middle of discussions with them. That was announced probably 6 weeks ago. And we've got an end date of that at the 31st of March. We did that deliberately because the DFS is ready. If we haven't done a deal with Traxys, we'll quickly do a deal with one of the other end users that have approached us over the years. China, let's talk about that for a very short time. China has knocked on our door at least 50 times in the last 2 or 3 years to get all of the offtake. The Austrian government has made it very clear that they don't mind Chinese money coming in, but they do not want a concentrate to leave Austria and then the EU has to buy it back as hydroxide. If the Chinese want the offtake, they will have to build their hydroxide plant in Austria. So there's no anti-Chinese investor. It's just they don't want the hydroxide plant being built in China. They want the downstream. With several of the companies weren't interested after we told them that, but there's still a couple that are wanting to diversify, if you like, out of China. There's a lot of rule changes there. There's power problems, as we all saw, the energy crisis in China. So that's still an opportunity for us to go down that track as well. But the biggest the thing that we've been talking about as a board and for our shareholders, they're saying, most people are saying, well, how can a $150 million company raise $450 million? Well, I believe once the DFS, what's happened with Core, for example. They're a similar size to us. Their market cap's over 1 billion. A lot less than that. Probably 120 to 150 million. It varies day to day. So in saying that, that means there's a huge upside for European Lithium over the next 1 month, mainly because of the big news that's going to come out is the DFS showing our MPV8, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where we're at. That's the key. We haven't signed a offtake agreement previously. Most of them came from China, and two, the offers that we did get from the end users in Europe was too low. Now, you can imagine if we signed an agreement 18 months ago with a floor price and a ceiling at, say, 20,000, now it's trading at 40 odd, it would have been silly for the company. We would have got a sugar hit back then, but by holding off, I think we're about the only ones that haven't sold an offtake. So that puts us in a very, very strong position in 4 weeks' time once the details come out. I haven't talked about the EU. EU has nominated lithium as a critical mineral. We believe once the DFS is done, we'll be able to apply for some funding. And I want to stress this because it's been misconstrued when I've said it before. It's not for the mining part of the business. What they'll fund is the chemical side of the business, which is the hydroxide conversion, if you like, from the concentrate to the hydroxide. That's seen to be away from mining. The EU doesn't like to see their money going into any mining enterprise. So what we would envisage doing is split the company into a subsidiary, and we would get the funding for the hydroxide plant from the EU and from our other investors interested in that side of the business. So instead of raising 450 million in European Lithium, we could raise it just for the mining, say 200 million, and raise another 250 million over the other side of the business, which will be the chemical side of our business. So that's a plan that we like. It splits the risk on raising the funds, and it also will be able to bring in a huge partner that is used to building chemical plants. And in the end, the hydroxide is just a chemical plant. We're miners, explorers are miners, and they'll bring in that sort of expertise. On the equity side of that, we don't know what we're going to do yet. Do we share it 50-50? All those things are to be discussed, but that's the way we're thinking at the moment, because $450 million is a huge ask. I think the split up would be probably 50% of that would be debt and 25% offtake partner and 25% in equity, or somewhere around those numbers. So that's Wolfsburg. We're very excited. 1 month to go. We've been waiting for this number and this report for the last 3 years. We started late because of COVID, but that's what we're about to finalise. We did do an agreement to buy 2 assets in the Ukraine some 5 months ago. They're still afoot. We haven't spent 1 cent. The agreement with them is they invest $5 million into European Lithium, and we would get first approval once these licenses come through. As we all know, nothing's happened in the Ukraine now for 6 or 7 days. We were expecting our license to come before June, but so we just keep an eye on it. We've spent no money, like I said. In fact, $5 million has come into the company from the vendor because they like Wolfsburg so much. So the less said about that, the better. We don't know what's going on. We're not going to shy away from it. We'd love those assets. Those assets would really turn European Lithium into a massive lithium company. But we just, like everyone else, is on the wait and see list for what happens over there. So we can't do much about it. It's there. But Wolfsburg alone, if you compare us exactly on metrics with Core, we're about $900 million cheaper.